This is Iowa Everywhere. And now, it's time for Two Guys Named Chris, powered by Fareway Meat and Grocery. This is Iowa Everywhere. For the fans.
And what's going on? Chris Williams here, joined as always by Chris Hassel. This is Two Guys Named Chris here on Iowa Everywhere. We're going to get after it for the next hour or so, talking Iowa State. Big weekend coming up for both schools. Kind of desperation mode for both teams. No desperation mode at Fareway, though. They got the best meat that money can buy. Hassel. Okay, I'm going to give you, you can have 2 beers right now.
2 beers.
And you can go and have any piece of meat at Fareway. What's it going to be?
Jeez,
After a couple of beers, we're going steak.
I find it hard to beat a New York strip. You know, it's easy.
Yeah.
And it always hits the spot.
That's good. I think I would probably go. That's tough to compete with. If I had the time, a nice slab of baby back pork ribs.
Yeah, I just don't know how to cook those.
It's not difficult, but no, you can't lose. Thanks to Fareway for sponsoring the program. A little discombobulated. I apologize if my quality isn't as good. My mic broke about 2 minutes before we were supposed to be recording this. I feel a little bit like Brian Ference. It's a little unprepared.
No, I think it was a ghost.
Did you listen to my Ghost Hunter podcast?
I'm going to get Chris Williams' mic and I'll show him.
Did you listen to the podcast?
I did not. No.
You should listen to it and open your mind for
I'm
once.
getting feedback. Can you turn down your headphones? I think I'm hearing you through your little headphone deals.
There you go. That should be better. Is that better?
I think that's better.
Okay.
Yeah, much better. Good job.
Okay. There you go.
Wow, we already have a Brian Ference joke in the first couple minutes of the program.
Well, it's kind of easy at this point. I'm not trying to take cheap shots. I did think that this is funny before we get into all the Kirk Ferentz stuff that Pat Fitzgerald. Now, this is the type of press conference that I'm looking for out of all coaches, including and Matt Campbell's going to get his this week too, fellas.
Oh, he going to get his.
Fitz on this week's game against Iowa, quote, I requested the Big Ten that we play this game at 6 a.m. Phenomenal.
Yes. Bravo.
I love self-deprecation. That's fantastic. Way to go,
yes.
Fitz.
He knows both teams suck.
Yeah.
And this is going to be an ugly game. I saw the total has already gone way up.
You know, I was talking to Mike Palm about that from Circa. And Ken and him were talking about it on the hook the other day, and you know why? It's because of Iowa's defense. Like, the odds are they'll probably score.
Gotcha. Okay, I see where you. Okay, I was for a second there. I was a little surprised, but then I realized, yes, you're talking about because the Iowa defense is the best unit in this game that can put up points.
Correct.
The Iowa defense is probably going to outscore the Iowa offense and the Northwestern offense.
Probably. Yeah, I mean, really, it opened at 31.5. That is the smallest open in the history of college football.
Mm-hmm.
But that's really hard to...
I saw it yesterday at 37.
Yeah, it's gone way up. I don't know. I don't know if I'd touch that one, but we'll see. Doesn't it Fitz, though? It kind of feels like his teams have been bad in the non-con and whatnot, but then they've been at least competitive in the Big Ten. I don't know why Iowa's an 11-point favorite, I guess. With a number that low, it just seems like Northwestern will at least hang, right? Doesn't it?
With a number that low, you would think that, but it's almost screaming out they won't score. But yeah. You're right. I mean, that last week they only lost by 7 at Maryland, 31-24. They put up some points. They weren't horrible at Penn State. They only lost by 10 there. Terrible record. I'm not saying they're a good team, but you're right. They've been more respectable the last month or so, but they're still a bad team. And I know Iowa is too, but Iowa's defense is just far superior to any other unit that Northwestern has. that I'm sure they probably will score at least 7 points. And that might be the difference in the game.
And then you've got Iowa State, Oklahoma, where, Oklahoma could put up 60 on anybody, but they could also give up 60 to anybody.
I don't know what to think about that game because Oklahoma kind of had its get-right game against Kansas. Then they had a bye week, right?
Mm-hmm. The key with them is if Dylan Gabriel is playing, and he is in this
Sounds like
one.
he's going to play, right?
Yeah, that's really been the difference in their offense, at least. Now, their defense has just been bad. But, I don't know. Two desperate football teams meeting in Ames on Saturday, and we will get to that one.
The one difference is that the one team got over the hump the last time they were out, and the other team keeps getting in its own way.
Correct. Yeah, I talked with this about Bloom on our Cyclone Fanatic podcast, and I think I maybe hit it up with you, but man, you really worry about becoming that team that just can't win a close game. Because right now, I think that I could make the point if that kick bounces a different right, you could spin it, and you're not crazy that you're 2 plays away. You're not far from being 3-1 in the Big 12, yet you're so far away. Does that make sense? And you don't want it to become you don't want it to become who you are. They can't lose another. I really fear for the psyche of any team if you lose 5 single-digit games, because then it's just, it's who you are. So they need to get over the hump big time tomorrow in Ames.
Saturday in Ames, yeah, whatever. Same thing. You're in. You're staying home. You've got UAB and Florida International, correct? That would be Florida Atlantic.
Florida Atlantic, whatever.
And they don't like to be called Florida Atlantic. They want to be called FAU.
Why?
There's this thing about these Florida schools. I don't know what it is, but Florida Atlantic is FAU. Florida International is FIU. Don't you dare call them Central Florida. It's UCF. Don't you dare call them South Florida. It's USF. Yes. They do not. In fact, when you read their game notes, in all of them, it'll say, do not refer to us in any way as Central Florida.
Is it they don't want to be a directional? Right? Because that kind of is what is the reasoning behind that?
Honestly, I don't know, and I think it's a detriment, especially for Central Florida and South Florida, because UCF, USF, it's very similar, very similar sounding schools. And when you say it, I think most people throughout the country have to think for a second. UCF, USF, okay, South Florida, Central Florida. Okay, because we still identify them as Central Florida, South Florida. But they do not want to be called that. And I think it might have something to do with being a directional. But I think it causes more confusion than not.
It certainly does with me, just with UCF, I guess, coming to the Big 12. I actually think it makes them look better being called Central Florida.
I agree. But if you want to get under their skin coming into the Big 12, call them Central Florida. Write that down.
Good to know. Speaking of getting under people's skin.
Oh, boy.
Kirk Ference had quite the soundbite during his press conference on Tuesday. And I gave Kirk a lot of credit last night on Twitter, and this is old news, so we don't want to rehash the what happened on Tuesday too much here on Thursday. But he went after the Cleveland reporter who wrote the story about the nepotism and all that stuff after the game. We referred to it on Monday's show.
And I think Kirk was more upset about the questions he was asking. He didn't really ever refer to the article. He referred to the line of questioning and the tone, etc.
So then Ference puts out a statement, and I think Brock has that statement right here. And I actually thought that this was pretty well done. I'll read it for those listening on the podcast. I had hoped to join the Zoom call this morning, but practice lasted longer than anticipated. I wanted to take a moment to apologize for my comments during the news conference yesterday. I should not have been dismissive of one of your colleagues. His questions were fair. I have high respect for the work that you do. I'm appreciative appreciative of how you cover our team. You ask tough and pointed questions, but do so with a high degree of professionalism. I tell our players to take the high road, and yesterday I did not do the same thing. I look forward to seeing you on Saturday. Go Hawks. Signed, Kirk Ference. I was pretty happy with that. I'm like, all right, let's just move on.
Yeah.
I actually tweeted, I was like, I'm glad we don't have to spend much time on this on two guys named Chris. Just move on. Admit when you're wrong, all that good stuff, right?
And then.
Yeah, so then let's hear what he said last night. It's on the what would be Iowa's coaches show with Gary Dolphin.
Statement, or at least you want to revisit that and talk about that for a moment.
Yeah, I was a little dismissive yesterday of this gentleman, and I always preach to our guys, encourage our guys to take the high road. So maybe I deviated from that, and I apologize for that. Don't want to set a bad example for our guys. And it's not so much the questions. That's part of my job, and I fully realize and appreciate the media, members of the media have jobs to do, and answered, more than several hard questions after the Illinois ball game, and same thing on Saturday. So that's part of the job. It's not fun, but it's part of the job. So no problem there. And I didn't have a problem with the question. I just have a real problem with the tone. And there's to me a way you go about your business, and everybody's entitled to their own opinion how they want to do things. But I was not appreciative of the tone in which the question was delivered, or questions were delivered. So I'll stand by that, and if anything else, it just reinforces and makes me appreciate my feelings towards the Iowa media. They ask hard questions, they do what they have to do, and again, I appreciate that and respect that. But what I more so respect is the quality of people that I have a chance to interact with on a routine basis, and the way they go about their job. So. I'm not sitting up here telling anybody how to do their job, but I guess I do have some opinions about it, and there are certain tones I don't appreciate people taking with me. So, enough said on that one.
Yeah, enough.
Chris, do you have any thoughts on that?
That's kind of like it reminds me of when if you're a kid, your mom makes you write an apology letter to somebody, maybe one of your friends, acquaintances, and then you see that acquaintance again, and you're like, you really brought that on yourself. I mean, I am sorry, but it really was your fault. You had a lot to do with this. My mom made me do that. I think that his PR team, this is just me guessing, I don't know this for a fact. I think his PR team got to him and said it would be right, it would look good on you to craft a statement. We'll help you with that statement to apologize because it didn't look good yesterday. It's not playing well. And so he did that, maybe begrudgingly, and then you get him in that setting on the radio show in a restaurant, and he just kind of goes off on his own thoughts. It starts off okay, but then it's clear that he's basically saying, don't ever come at me with that tone again. And also, like, pointing out how the great character of the people who cover him at Iowa are, that's another kind of slap in the face to this guy. I will say, though, in Ference's defense, the tone was a little bit questionable if you listen to it. If you listen to that press conference, I thought that the tone was a little bit harsh. But Kirk Ference has had harsh tone with reporters in the past. Bottom line is, I think Ference did more harm than good with what he said after the statement yesterday. He did not need to address it anymore. He made the statement. He released the statement, I should say. That would have been it. Mm-hmm. We all would have said, like you said, and when we did, we tweeted it. We would have said on this show, it's the right thing to do. He shouldn't have said it in his press conference on Tuesday. We're moving on. And now we're talking about it again.
Mm-hmm.
Because he basically took the apology back. I'm sorry that you asked a question with that damn tone.
Yeah, and I mean, I try and humanize these guys, and we'll do it with Matt coming up here too. Like, honestly, like, I'm kind of with you when you make the point. Like, the guy's tone wasn't great. And normally, Chris, you know this, if you're going to do a column like that, or like it's normally like on a Tuesday and you pull them to the side and you say to the guy, hey, I'm sorry. I mean, we've all done this before. Like, I'm going to have to kill you here. Can we talk off on the side? You're not doing it in front of everybody when you have the really hard questions and pointed questions to ask. Well, this guy is, I'm putting myself in Kirk's shoes. Mm-hmm. It's after a brutal loss. We just got humiliated on national TV, okay? And you know what's coming. And then this outsider in your mind shows up, and not only is he pressing you on stuff that you don't want to be pressed on, that you've already been pressed on, contrary to what many fans believe. Kirk Ference has been asked hard questions this year by the Iowa media. And
to
now
their credit, the Chad Leisticos, the David Eicholts, I think they all ask those tough questions that need to be asked, and they ask them in a professional, polite way.
So then this outsider in Kirk's mind shows up in his most vulnerable moment, right, as a coach, when you just get your ass kicked. And there was a tone there. I think that's fair.
Sure.
Like
there was. There's no question there was.
Yeah,
I'm not saying maybe the guy that's the first time I've ever asked him, heard a question. His name's Doug. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. It starts with an L, from Cleveland.com. And by all accounts, he's a really good reporter.
Yeah,
he's been doing it a long
research.
time.
He's kind of an icon in that area. Like
maybe that's how he asks questions. I don't know, but it did come off very Tony to me. There was an edge to those questions, and it might have been because Ference pushed back a little bit at first. It was almost like Ference was surprised that he would ask that question, and Ference was like, "Well, I've addressed this before. I addressed this last week. I addressed this 2 weeks ago," and maybe that's what turned the tone a little bit more.
I think, too, there's an aspect of it where Kirk is sitting around in a bar, not saying he was drinking. You said the setting. Dolph's one of his old buddies.
Are they still at the old Carlos O'Kelly's Mexican Cafe? Wednesday night, Carlos O'Kelly's Mexican Cafe, the Kirk Ference radio program.
I believe they're at some sort of a rooftop, is what it said in the background there. It goes back to when Campbell made that comment about the fans, you know? Mm-hmm. And I was thinking about this last night because we were wanting Matt to come and just be like, just to clarify it. We know what he meant, but we also know how it came off, and two different things. And really, like, if you do any study on just verbal communication with anybody, it doesn't matter what the person who's talking, it doesn't matter what they mean. What matters is how it's received to anybody. If it's our audience, if it's having a conversation with your wife, if it's talking to your dad, if they take it a way that you didn't intend to send it, well, that's what really leaves a lasting impact. And the more I think about this, like, it's really kind of a bad way to do it because you're so comfortable sitting there with Dolph, and then you can start to kind of, and Dolph's giving you the nonverbal communication, like, yeah, Sonny, yeah. And Ference just kept going there, and you're right, I think it probably did more harm than good. I'm probably at the end of the day I'm kind of like, whatever, I just want to talk about the games. But it did make me, when I'm going to bed last night, think, man, I was defending Kirk on Twitter to Iowa State fans because I've been in that spot where it doesn't matter what you say. Because I'm an Iowa State guy, Iowa fans, it doesn't matter what I say. I am the enemy. I'm a liar. I'm out to get them. And that's how a lot of fans were responding to Kirk's written message. And I'm like, no, back off. The guy tried to make it right. Just move on. This is not that big of a deal. And then he goes and does this. And now I'm like, okay, yeah, that was totally written by his PR team. He doesn't actually feel this. And I'm kind of with you. So it is what it is. Just probably the less the Ferences talk right now until they win some games, probably the better, is what I'm coming down to.
And they should get a win this week. As bad as they've been, they should get a win this week, and they at least should feel a little bit better about what's going on. But, we'll see how things transpire on Saturday. But right now, they can't win for losing. They can't get out of their own way. And the more they talk,
Yeah.
the more they upset people, whether it's Iowa fans, Iowa State fans, national media.
They're just very defensive right now, and I understand it from a human standpoint. The problem is that they're not looked at as human beings. They're looked right. It's just different, and we're not Dr. Phil.
I think right now you can't be defensive. They are so bad offensively. Iowa football is the laughingstock of the country in college football. It's not UConn or UMass or Colorado State or Miami. It's Iowa. If you're going to make a punchline about a college football team right now on a national landscape, you're going to make a joke about the Iowa offense and how putrid it is, and then you're probably going to the fact that the coach's son is the offensive coordinator. That's how it is. So I think right now those guys need to adjust, and they don't do a good job adjusting. We know that, whether it's in-game with personnel changes or this. I think they do need to scale it back a little bit because they are performing so bad. I mean, I think that's just how it is. And they're not in any – Kirk Ferentz is in no danger of getting fired or anything like that. It's not like he's a lame duck coach and he's out there trying to defend himself and prove that he's right for the job. He's got it. Just pull it back a little bit. Understand that people are pissed.
And that might be the problem. That is the problem here, is that he knows all of that. He knows how much power he yields, and he can basically say or do whatever he wants until you get into that with cause category, which he is nowhere near.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's part of the deal. Like, you don't see Brent Venables on the stand talking like that because he knows that they might fire him in 3 weeks, despite his bio. Kirk knows that that's not coming.
But I guess I don't. I could see this more from a coach like Venables, who's trying to defend how good he is as a coach and his leadership inside the program. Kirk Ferentz doesn't need to do that. He can say, look, I get it. I know we're really, really struggling right now, especially offensively.
This is a good segue.
Concerns.
This is a good segue to what Matt Campbell said. And then we'll get to the games. Matt Campbell, we'll hold on one second here, Brock, and I'll introduce it for our podcast audience. Matt Campbell was at the lectern or whatever you call it. On
podium?
Yeah. There's multiple names, but he was at the
lectern.
I believe that's a word, right?
It is.
Yeah.
You don't hear it that often.
Well, actually, I think it was on Zoom because he was ill.
What?
Matt Campbell, like this was. They didn't have a press conference. It was all on Zoom. But whatever, it doesn't matter.
This is the regular press conference that he has each week before game.
Well, we'll just let you guys listen to it. This is Matt Campbell answering a question about special teams.
I really think, like, in my opinion, special teams is still one of those things where you want all your coaches involved. I think when you're asking just one person to do it, I still don't believe that's the right way to approach it. And, I think we've been able to find great success with that in our past.
What? We've been able to find great success with that. When? In year one?
Yeah, and here's the Iowa State special team rankings during the Campbell era. I'm just going to read the numbers. So there's 7 years. 8. So they were really good in 2016.
His first year, they were top 10 in the country in special teams, and then the big drop-off.
62, 66, 84, 90, 101, 115. I'm actually surprised they were as bad last year because of the kicking situation with Mevis. He was pretty good, kicked it out of the end zone a lot. They didn't give up a lot of those kick returns. But the greater point here, as we were segueing into Campbell from Ference, is why don't these coaches, Chris, just say what you were saying there more often, being like, yeah, you know what, it's been a real grind. Right? Like, wouldn't fans just respond so much better than that than, like, what Matt is referring to here? We're all watching the games, Coach. Like, you're not having success on special teams. And I wish I could do PR for a D1 coach for a year. and say, just freaking go up there and be authentic and tell the truth. Because Matt has been getting killed on Twitter for this. I think I know what Matt meant here.
What did he mean?
I think because he does this all the time, I think he was referring to his time at Toledo. And because when he refers to like in the past, like I swear, like that's probably what was in his head. And he is so ingrained by how his Mount Union coach did things and like the mentors that he's had. And I'm guessing if you go back to those Mount Union programs and whatnot, they probably didn't have a special teams coordinator and everybody did it this way. But like Iowa State fans don't care about that. And I just wish that these coaches would do what you were saying with Ference and be like, go up there and admit that it's been a total grind and we probably need to look at making some changes, right? Like it doesn't always have to be swept under the rug, these problems.
And to say that we've had great success, so he's going back to his...
I don't know that. I'm assuming.
Toledo and... You know what? 15 years ago when I was a high school coach, we had great success doing that. Yes, you can't... Fans aren't stupid. And this is the biggest bugaboo that Matt Campbell has had as a head coach. It's special teams.
It's really his only wart.
Yeah.
Now.
And it seems to be getting worse, not better or staying the same. This year has been abysmal, and it's been every aspect, not just the kicking game, not just the punt return unit or the punt unit, getting kicks blocked.
How many blocked punts have they had? Like 7, 6? It's
last
crazy.
Week, I was going to put together a list of all the special teams miscues that Iowa State has had this season, and it got to a point where it was just so much that there was no way we could even present that on one page. So I was just said no. Like, I get it. Like, if it works the way you're doing it, awesome. It's not working.
Obviously.
It didn't work. It's not working this year. It didn't work last year. It didn't work the year before, or the year before, or the year before. You've got to admit there's a problem first. Isn't that the first step in like if you're an alcoholic, the first step is to admit you're an alcoholic, and then you can start to get help. Matt Campbell won't admit that he has a special teams problem. He's got to go to special teams rehab, and it's going to take an intervention to get him there.
And you just wonder, too, just coaches in general, like, I would love to be at the Iowa offensive coaches meeting in the Iowa State, like, when they're talking about special teams. Like, are they completely just putting lipstick on a pig to the media and the fans, or, like, do they truly believe these things? Like, I would love to know.
Here's the other thing, Chris, is that a lot of Iowa State fans also know what's going on at Iowa. They play each other every year. They watch Iowa games. They see how good the Iowa special teams
they watch Tory Taylor.
Year out.
Make me a trade last year. Give me Tory Taylor. I'll give you our punter. Iowa State wins probably 9 games instead of 7, including the Cyhawk game. Tory Taylor changed the game.
Yes, and Iowa probably doesn't win 10. They win 8.
Right?
Without Tory Taylor.
And that's just a cold hard fact. And that's the other thing about that graphic that we showed too, that like fans aren't dumb, and you just look at the numbers and it's really I think fans just want authenticity. Like I think that's really what they're looking for. It's not always going to be perfect. I mean when you're winning, it cures everything. Like if Iowa State is 3-1 right now, nobody in the Big 12 like. This isn't even a topic, right? But like, I was talking with my old buddy Jeremiah Davis. He used to write for the Cedar Rapids Gazette, and that's what losing does. Like when you're losing, you get asked these types of questions, which you don't after a win. But like, I don't know, the Campbell thing. It was just like, come on, man, just like come out here and say, hey, yeah, we're really, really struggling. We're doing everything behind the scenes we can to get this fixed, because they are. They're not just ignoring it. Like. There's not negligence on the part of like the day-to-day, but the process of your special teams is clearly broken if you look at those numbers and you just watch the games.
TB commented on YouTube that at least he's not telling everyone how well the special teams has been playing in practice.
Yes. Well, go buy our shirt too, by the way. Brock, see if you can pull that up on the Iowa Everywhere Twitter page. We've got a new merch store, and the first item we have is practice. Who gives a shit? In honor of
some
you.
people were disappointed that the S and the H and the I in shit was had an asterisk.
We cleared that up.
What?
We cleared that up.
What'd you do?
Well, we had too many asterisks in
Yeah.
there to begin with, so we eliminated one. So we're good now.
So which letter are you allowing?
I think the I is the one that's.
Okay. So it's SH asterisk T.
I believe so.
Okay.
Is how that looks. Shout out to Circa Sports Iowa, our friends. I was talking to you. Man, it's great to have Mike Palm as a part of Iowa Everywhere, because I can just text him and be like, hey, why is the Iowa Northwestern game, why is the number this low, right? And you get great insight. These people are really bright. You should listen to Mike and get his insight with Ken Miller every Tuesday on Iowa Everywhere with the hook. And download that Circa Sports Iowa app today. It's my number one go-to app. Now, Circa always encourages you to shop other lines, too, and get the best line out there. I'm consistently finding the best lines with Circa Sports Iowa. And it really helps us here at Iowa Everywhere if you guys can, if they see their numbers going up. So go and check that out. And if you're in Vegas, check out the property at Circa. Stadium Swim, second to none. I think we are going to be out there here in a couple of months.
Yeah, my wife was just asking me about that. Have you heard anything more from Williams about that trip to Vegas?
It's coming, baby. Let's go to let's just stick with Iowa State, and then we'll get to Iowa Northwestern. This is a must. This is really a must type of win for Iowa State. You don't really want to stare at 0-5. Now there are winnable games on the back end, Chris. But I think if you want to go to a bowl game, man, beating Oklahoma at home. Listen, I know they had the bye. I know Dylan Gabriel's back. I still think that this Oklahoma program, I'm consistent with my thoughts. I had a mental lapse after they beat Nebraska. I was overvaluing Nebraska. We actually look really good right now. In our first show ever, you and me both, we said Oklahoma and Notre Dame were the two most overrated teams in the country. That was before any of the games have been played.
That's true.
And that has certainly been the case. And
leave out the fact that I had Iowa State winning 10 games.
We both had Iowa winning 8. So
I also think we had Nebraska starting like 7-1. But we got to point out when we're wrong as well, right?
This is true, my friend. This is a really intriguing football game, though, because it's just two desperate football teams with Iowa State and Oklahoma. I'm really looking forward to it because you got an elite defense versus an elite offense. And Oklahoma's offense with Dylan Gabriel has been one of the best in the country. And then you have a poor offense at Iowa State that was getting better in the Texas game. Hunter Deckers throws for over 300 yards in that one, so you saw some improvement against a bad Oklahoma defense. But you got to think that Brent Venables, he doesn't get this reputation over the years for nothing. You got to think their defense is going to be in a better spot on Saturday than it was prior to. What do you think?
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think they got over the hump against Kansas. They're feeling good. They go into the bye week, and they think that this second half of the season they're going to turn things around. They're going to go on a winning streak. I don't like this spot for Iowa State. I just don't. You keep losing these close games. Now you're going up against a team that's feeling better about itself and a team that clearly is more talented than you. I mean, I don't think you can argue that.
No.
Oklahoma has more talent, and I don't see it. I don't see Iowa State winning this game.
You think it'll be close?
No.
Whoa.
I think Oklahoma rolls. I hope
Are
I'm
you
dead
more
wrong.
bullish on Oklahoma or bearish on Iowa State?
Bullish on Oklahoma. I don't think they're nearly as bad as they showed the first 3 games of the conference season. And I think Iowa State just missed their opportunities. I think now the boulder is rolling down the hill, and it's collecting more and more just garbage. And you've got a team coming in, and I know Iowa State had a bye too, but they've already been embarrassed by Texas. I don't like it. I feel like Oklahoma is going to reel off several wins in a row here down the stretch. I think Iowa State's going to lose this game, and this is going to be the difference between a bowl game and not. I think this is going to keep them at 5 wins because I do think they'll beat West Virginia and Texas Tech.
Yeah,
But
I think that they've got some wins left in them. I just don't know where they're coming from. I'm with you on this game being a bit terrifying, though. I just don't like getting into these games when you think that you're going to have to score in the 40s to win.
yeah,
Right.
that's the problem.
And I think Iowa State's defense is great, but you can only be great for so long against an
Right.
offense like Oklahoma.
Look at Iowa and Ohio State.
Yeah.
And when you dissect that, you see how good Iowa actually played defensively against C.J. Stroud and that Ohio State offense, and Ohio State still scored 50-plus points in the game. So is Hunter Decker's going to have his field day? I think he'll make some big plays. I think Hutchinson's going to make some big plays. But are they going to be able to consistently do it without turning the ball over?
Yeah, the only plus for Iowa State in that sense is it does look like you'll be healthy at running back. So that'll be, if they can run the football, with getting Jyrell Brock back.
How do you
that
think
would
the
be
atmosphere is going to be?
A little sleepy, I would think.
Yeah.
I wish it wasn't an 11 a.m. kick. I wish this was a night game.
I think this is going to be the sleepiest atmosphere for an Oklahoma trip to Ames that we've ever seen. Usually Oklahoma comes in, they've got a number next to them, and usually it's a single-digit number. Usually it's a top 10 team, often top 5 team, and even if Iowa State's bad, it's a juiced-up environment.
I would disagree because I can think of one game in 2003 where that was not the case, when Iowa State went 2-10. But your point is well taken. I wish this wasn't an 11-8. I wish this was a night game. I think that would really help. I think you're going to have a lot of people who it's late fall, stuff to do, 11 a.m. I don't know if I can get up there. I do agree with you. The atmosphere it's been fine. It's been way better than what Iowa State used to have, but it's not. It hasn't been like electric.
It's better than probably any other 0-4 team in
No
conference in the country.
No
But,
doubt. Yeah.
I don't know. I just it's the 11 a.m. thing. It's the 0-4 thing. It's the oh my God, Oklahoma's not even good this year thing. I don't like the looks of it. I think it's a really tricky spot for the Cyclones. In fact, I did the college football picks show on CBS Sports HQ with Brady Quinn and Danny Cannell, and we pick every ranked game against the spread. And at the end of the show, each guy gives their best bet. Now, this isn't a ranked game, so we didn't pick this game, but Danny Cannell's best bet was Oklahoma -1. This is his best bet for the week. Now, he's over 500 for the season in his picks. His best bets are right around, I think he was like 4-4 or something like that in his best bets this year, but he thinks Oklahoma's going to roll in this one. You asked me if I think it's going to be close, and I said no. I don't think Oklahoma is going to win by 30, but I think this is going to be a 2-score win for Oklahoma.
I would probably lean Oklahoma, and Iowa State loses another one-possession game. That would be my lean right now. But I wouldn't be surprised, though, if Iowa State wins. They're just so close, and you feel like there's a breakout coming at some point, and hopefully it's Saturday. But until you see it, it's kind of hard to go out on a limb and predict that.
Hey, we didn't even say, like, we're talking, geez, is Iowa State gonna move the ball? Are they gonna score enough? Are they gonna move it enough and not turn the ball over? Are they gonna stop Oklahoma on enough possessions? We didn't say anything about the special teams. What kind of special teams mistakes will they make? Because you know that's coming. Something is going to happen, and usually it's some things with this team.
Iowa, Northwestern, contrary to what Pat Fitzgerald asked for, there's no 6 a.m. kick in this one. What time does this game even kick? Is this 11? This has to be 11.
I was just going to ask you. I'm looking that up right now. I've got a night game, so I'm hoping it's early.
Well,
Iowa Northwestern is 2:30 Central Time on ESPN2.
Wow, that got ESPN2, huh? I thought this had.
It's that Big Ten TV deal, man.
Thought this had Big Ten Network written all over.
It's either that or the Big Ten Network was like, we don't want this. Why don't you guys take it over there on the douche?
I mean, Iowa wins this game, right? Like they're not going to lose.
Iowa doesn't win this game.
They're not going to lose.
Oh my God! If it's gonna get it's ugly right now. It's gonna get really, really loud and really, really bad in Iowa City. If you think it's bad right now for the Ferences, if they lose this game, I don't think it's going to happen, though.
I don't either.
At home, Northwestern sucks.
I kind of feel like Iowa might even cover.
Every team in the Big Ten has 3 or more wins, except for Northwestern. They've got 1. And that came week 0. So they haven't won in week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They haven't won any of those. Week 0, a fake week, is their only win. And that was out of the country in Ireland.
It's kind of like if a tree falls in the forest and nobody's there to listen to it. Does it make sound?
Yeah, and it was against Scott Frost. Does that really count? A 1-possession win against Scott Frost?
So I didn't realize this at the time until I was doing my prep for this game. But that game that Northwestern had at Penn State where they forced 5 turnovers, it was like a monsoon that game. Did you know that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I didn't realize
I knew that it was horrible weather.
So it softens that performance just a little bit.
Sure.
I mean, I'd be shocked if Northwestern scores a offensive touchdown. Wouldn't you?
Yes.
I mean, they made the quarterback change. It feels like they've got a little bit of momentum. But Maryland's defense is nothing like what Iowa's defense. And then you also, like if you're Iowa, and you go from Ohio State down to that, like it's going to feel like you're playing a high school team out there.
Who do you expect to see at the quarterback position for Iowa?
It has to be Padilla. I mean, I know Ference has had a bad week. The word arrogant has been thrown around a lot. He's not arrogant enough to not start Spencer Padilla on Saturday. Alex Padilla. Sorry, I'm getting
if he rolls a Spencer Padilla out there.
I'm getting all your quarterbacks mixed up.
A mix between a guy who can't take a snap and a guy who can't see a defense.
He didn't rule out the rotation, which I thought that would be epic. Because normally if it's a rotation, it's like a couple of different guys who like do different things. Right, like there's like a reason. I think it'd be hilarious if Spencer Petras and Alex Padilla were in a quarterback rotation for Iowa.
Oh my God! Honestly, that would be better than just trotting Petras out there again. I would take that over just Petras.
They have to play Padilla, and here's why: because Fitzgerald, I know that they suck, but he's too good of a coach. Like if they do That's Petras, true. Like he's gonna know what's coming.
Yeah. Man, this has a 10-7 written all over it. How is Iowa an 11-point favorite? Because you're right, Fitzgerald has been great against Ference. Few people know Ference better and play him better than Pat Fitzgerald, and that's even in seasons where Iowa does have an offense. No matter how bad Northwestern is.
Yeah. Should we get to our top 3 games of the weekend? Look around the schedule now. Brock is filling in for Matt. Apparently he mixed our names up, which tends to happen. We have the same name.
Oh, that's true. We'll just put down Chris.
Well, let's see what he's got. We'll see who so this is actually Hassel's top 3 games of the weekend. Okay. It says Williams's if you're watching on the stream. You go for it.
All right, so North Texas at Western Kentucky. Williams, I had to do it. Go back to Conference USA.
Love Conference USA.
Keeps
the Mean Green.
Delivering.
I love it.
Oh, man. Mean Green had a great effort last week at UTSA, and the Roadrunners pulled it out in the final minute. This game might decide who gets second place in Conference USA behind UTSA and goes to the conference championship game. North Texas and Western Kentucky have 1 loss in conference play. The winner's going to be alone in second place, and this should be a really, really fun game. North Texas usually runs the ball well. Western Kentucky throws it. Western Kentucky's coming off a great win over UAB last week. That'll be a really good game. That one's on Stadium this Saturday. I'm not calling that one, though. I'm calling a game for CBS Sports Network, FAU and UAB. That is not on my top 3. I'll never pick my own game for this, by the way. My next game to watch, if we can roll the slide. Whoa.
Yeah.
Illinois at Nebraska.
This is sexy. I love this pick. I was going to put this on mine until I saw that you did. I love this.
Illinois is a touchdown favorite at Nebraska. Illinois has got, right now on paper, the best defense in the country, giving up 8 points per game. Fewer than 9 points per game. I think it's 8.9. Nebraska can score it. So which side wins out here? They're playing better football now that they got Frost out of there. In Illinois, if they win this, they'll kind of take a stranglehold, or a little bit more of a stranglehold on the Big Ten West. They're the favorites now to win it. This is going to be a tough test, though, for Illinois on the road there at Nebraska. So you got that one.
I'm putting Illinois on upset alert.
Me too. Yeah, I think if you can get 7.5 there, I think you take those 7.5 points in Nebraska. I
would say your third game is a major upset alert, in my opinion.
Yep. TCU unbeaten, coming off a couple big wins, going on the road to West Virginia, and old Max Duggan is 0-3 in his career against the Mountaineers. 1 touchdown pass to 5 interceptions. West Virginia has had his number, has had TCU's number, and everybody's patting TCU on the back. Maybe they could be a playoff team, top 10 in the country. Look out. Look out. This could be a tricky little spot in Morgantown.
And add to it that Neil Brown could be coaching for his job. From an Iowa State standpoint, I hope that he doesn't get fired this week, because that's always a terrible spot.
I always hate that. Having to face a team that just fired its head coach. Yeah.
In West Virginia,
you just never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, West Virginia coming to town next week. So this is a super trick. Have you ever been to Morgantown in your life?
No, I've been to West Virginia many times, but never to Morgantown.
I always explain it's like a different country. It's like you just appear in like Siberia. Just people with beards. It's just I love it.
People with beard. You have a beard. People with beards. They're wearing flannel shirts, and they've got glasses, and
they're just drinking moonshine everywhere. Just walking down the street drunk. I love Morgantown. It's one of my favorite road trips. Now they're kind of nasty. Their fans can be real dicks.
Oh sure.
And that's what makes this very, very tricky for TCU. All right, my top 3. Oklahoma State at Kansas State is fascinating. I think I'm really interested to see. Kansas State's got a ton of injuries.
Yeah.
After that TCU game, I think the wrong team is favored here. Kansas State getting like 1.5 in this one. Gundy's phenomenal on the road. Really feels like he's the most consistent Big 12 football coach in the league.
Kansas State's favored, right?
Kansas State is favored, yeah.
Yeah, Kansas State, that's what it's weird to me that they're favored in this game, and they're the ones with all the injury concerns. A strange line.
I like Oklahoma State to win this game outright, but nonetheless, it's very compelling. It does sound like Will Howard, the backup, will probably be the guy for Kansas State, which makes them a little less predictable than when Adrian Martinez is out there. But nonetheless, they have injuries up and down the roster. Let's go to the American for Cincinnati at Central Florida.
Whoa, Central Florida. No, that's UCF.
UCF, Brock. Brock is filling in for Matt. He's just trolling the future Big 12 program. Hey, a little bit of future Big 12 vibes in this one, really to take control of the American. Of course, you got Tulane up there, but this is a sexy game.
UCF got their ass kicked last week at East Carolina.
Yeah, but they're still a good team, and they're
just a fanny pounder.
A fanny pound. Oh, fanny being slang for ass. And then you've got listen, Kentucky at Tennessee. Tennessee's ripe for an upset here. This is another one where
because you got the trip to Georgia next week.
That, and I love the fact I bet this game early in the week on Kentucky because Kentucky is like they're just they're a couple of plays from being in the top 10, 15. Right?
Should have beaten Ole Miss, yes. Should
have
had that win at Ole Miss.
They are being undervalued right now, and this is just a really tricky game for Tennessee with Georgia next week. Everybody's talking about I still feel like there's probably students that haven't recovered from the Bama win yet.
By the way,
physically.
Why throw the goalpost into the river? Why would you do that?
Why not?
You can keep it.
Where are you going to put a goalpost?
You can cut it up. Can you go cut that thing up? Give each person like a foot of it.
Hey, you're in Tennessee. I mean, there's probably guys with welders in their truck.
Yeah, how amazing would it be to have? What if you had a foot of the goalpost from the Iowa State Oklahoma State game 10 years ago? That'd be awesome.
Were you at the Iowa Minnesota game when they carried it out and those people got caught having sex?
Game. They had sex with the goalpost?
No, there's this couple of Iowa fans. They got
that
drunk.
wasn't the same game. That was a different game.
Same one. That was
a different year. So the goalpost game was 2002.
Then y'all carried it out of the Metrodome.
Yeah, the Metrodome sex game was I think 2008.
So what's this? These Hawk fans got drunk, and they just started just boning in the.
I think in the
bathroom?
men's restroom. I think so. And those restrooms at those old stadiums, they don't even have doors on the stalls.
Dude, the old Metrodome, that was like I had season tickets to the Vikings. It was hell going to be able to go to the bathroom in that place.
Yeah, it was miserable. I had only been there a few times, but it was so congested in those hallways. Like, how does that even happen? You go, the most disgusting place maybe on earth is a bathroom at an NFL stadium.
I don't know, man. Have you ever been to a college bar?
Yeah, those bathrooms aren't as bad as.
You ever been to like Sips on a Friday night?
What about the trough at Kinnick Stadium? That
would
place
you rather?
Is so disgusting. I couldn't even go to the bathroom in there.
Would you rather have sex?
I couldn't do it.
Up against the trough in Kinnick Stadium or the old Metrodome? You have to pick one.
But how would you even if you're up against the trough, you'd fall over. You'd fall right into the trough.
Have you ever
it's
been
low to the ground?
I've got a grosser place. That is the bathroom at a dirt track race.
Oh my God! I've never been to that. What's that like? Guys just pissing gasoline.
Guys pee in the sink often there because they don't want to wait in line, and they'll be holding their beer and just whip it out and go in the. It's all pipes. That's
the George Costanza line. It's all pipes. What's the difference?
By the way, I was texting with Andy Fales yesterday. We have an idea.
Yeah.
That when we get closer to the holidays, you and me and him are going to do a little Seinfeld trivia.
Oh.
Here on Iowa Everywhere. We thought we'd make it a little bit of a reunion, bring Dave Z back to be the moderator.
Yes. That was fun. We did that one night at Andy's house about, 12, 13 years ago. Yeah. And I kicked everybody's ass.
I didn't really care for that game we were playing. It was that Seinfeldopoly thing because it's like, oh, lose your turn. Like, it doesn't really give the proper, like, who's smarter. Like, I want a real competition.
About? I was clearly smarter about Seinfeld than you and Andy were.
Well, you're going to get a chance to prove it here in a couple months.
Okay, good. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, enjoy the games this weekend. Thanks to Brock for filling in for Matt Van Winkle. You the man, buddy.
Thanks,
good
Brock,
work,
and good luck to Van Winkle, and best of health to his dad who is in the hospital. I was sorry to hear that. Hopefully, Mr. Van Wink is on the way to recovery.
Yep, and then I wanted to give a shout out to our friend Keith Murphy and his son Cade. They're going through a hard time as well. We're thinking about all those guys as we lead into the weekend. So thanks to Fareway for sponsoring us here on Two Guys Named Chris. Do us a favor, when you're listening to us on the podcast, give us a rating and a subscribe if you haven't already. That helps us kind of.
What if it's a bad rating though? Is that
no bad ratings?
Okay,
no bad.
So if you're going to give us a bad one, don't rate us.
Yeah. Oh, Ross Tucker just threw in the Go Cox for the weekend. Big one. That might be my lock of the week,
Yeah,
by the way.
Who are your Cox playing this week?
Missouri. I already bet that one.
Oh.
A little bit of a tricky spot for my Cox because
I thought it was your mom's Cox.
Well, they are, but I cheer for them too. They're my SEC team. We need to, as this show develops, we need to do like a draft where we each pick like random teams in all the leagues. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Back, yeah.
Maybe we can do that in basketball. Be like, who's your SWAC team?
Ooh,
Yeah. Alabama State, baby. Let's go. Thanks for everybody for listening, commenting, watching. We appreciate you guys. For Chris Hassel, my name's Chris Williams. We will be back on Monday morning here.